Happy New Year and welcome to the Law of Attraction Tribe podcast. I'm your host, Stephanie Keith. Hopefully, you don't hear my kids in the background. They're really loud today, but I wanted to do a quick episode to let you know about just more crazy manifesting stories of asking the universe for signs and it coming through because this freaking blew my mind. And I want to share it with you because I want to make the point that when you ask for a sign, when you want an answer to something, you will get the answer. Like if you ask and you pay attention, it is miraculous what will come through. So, the first story that I'll tell you is yesterday was New Year's Eve. Well, I'm recording this on the first. So, yesterday was New Year's Eve. I decided to take the kids to Busch Gardens. And on the way to go to Busch Gardens, we were playing like disco music, which always reminds me of my mother in law who passed away. And she was like very into disco. She loved Donna Summer. She was really good at dancing. Like I always called her like the disco queen, the disco diva, like that whole thing. And after she had passed away, we were watching a show about psychic mediums, and they were saying how you can pick a sign and ask for that sign from your past loved one to know that they're with you. And so we picked a disco ball. And at the time, that was like before this whole trend of disco balls. So I really feel like I manifested that trend because I started this with her and then we did it in the Millionaires Mastermind. And then it blew up and I started seeing disco balls everywhere. And now it's this big trend. So anyhow, that's the sign. That's one of the signs that we have for her. So we're listening to disco music and I was like, okay, Jaja, that's what my kids called her. Okay, Jaja, let us see a disco ball. Send us a disco ball tonight to let us know you're here with us on New Year's Eve. So I'm telling this to my teenage daughter, Alexis. And so we get to Busch Gardens, we go on some rides and do the whole thing. And before we left, there was this ice skating show that they do every year around Christmas time. And it was the last show of the night. And we're like, okay, let's try to catch it. And there was this huge line to get in. And so we get up there, and the guy is only taking 25 more people because they're at maximum capacity. We were number 10. So we almost didn't make it in, but we get in there, and they have us all the way up on this balcony. And I was telling Alexis, like, I didn't even know they had this balcony because it was so high up. You were almost level with like the lighting in the place. And you could kind of see a little bit of like behind the scenes where all the cameras and lights and everything were. And it was just, I don't know, it was a cool experience. So we're sitting up there, and about two songs into the show, all of a sudden, I'm like blinded by this light. It's so bright. I had to close my eyes. And you hear the whole crowd gasp, and they're like, and then everyone starts like clapping and cheering. And when I could finally open my eyes and see what was going on, the biggest disco ball I've ever seen in my life comes out of the ceiling down for this song and is like blinding us as it's turning. And Alexis and I both look at each other and we were just, our jaws hit the floor. We were in complete shock. Like, oh my God, there it is. And every time we ask for these signs, we get them. And man, that was like an in your face sign. And it's just so cool. Every freaking time it happens, it blows my mind. So that happens. And then the other thing that I was going to talk about with signs is I was recording a lesson for the Quantum Catalyst Mastermind. And this whole lesson was about kind of like shattering your perception of reality. And I used that word, shattering reality, because I'm like, we really need to shatter everything we think we know about reality, about manifestation, about life, the universe, how everything works, so that we can rebuild with these new beliefs. So I must have said that phrase, shattering reality, like 10, 15 times throughout this lesson. And then I used the example of like why seeing is not believing, and actually showing a diagram of the eye and how we see and how we process things in our environment with vision. And the whole point was that seeing is not believing. So when people say they have to see it to believe it, that's the most hilarious thing ever. So I use that example, right? Then I get into like the collective energy, the collective consciousness that we're all going to be tapping into, and how in this mastermind we're using our collective energy to come together and manifest these huge transformations in our life. And then at the end, I tell them, okay, don't take my word for it. I want you to get validation by asking for a sign. Ask for a sign that is going to validate all of these things that we're talking about as we go, so that, you open up that line of communication with the universe, but you also get that validation and help to strengthen your intuition and your belief and everything else. So I record that, and then I get in my head and I start second guessing myself, because this whole first module, I was getting over a cold and I felt like my voice wasn't as good as it normally is. And I'm like, should I re-record it? I don't know. Are these concepts like too advanced where people aren't going to grasp it? And, I start getting in my head. So what I like to do when I get in my head is go for a walk outside. It's like it immediately opens up this clear channel, and I always get my answer. So I tell the kids, okay, we're going to go to the park. So we go and we walk to the park. And when we get to the park, I decided that I'm going to listen to another episode of the telepathy tapes. The telepathy tapes is a podcast. They have 10 episodes as of now. It is so good. I did not have high expectations. I didn't really go into it with any expectations. The only reason I started listening was because so many people were talking about it. So I started listening to it, and I was on episode 8. 8 was the next episode to listen to. And for whatever reason, I just decided to click on episode 10. And I think it's because earlier in the week, someone on TikTok had said she just released episode 10 and it's like the best episode out of all of them. And normally I don't like that. Like, I like to go in order because I don't want to miss anything. But for whatever reason, I just clicked on 10. And she says this episode is going to be what each of these kids, what their message is for humanity. And the very first boy that talks says, I'm here to shatter your reality. First, I'm going to shatter the reality of my parents. Then I shatter the reality of my teachers in my school. And then I shatter reality for humanity, because you have to shatter everything you think you know about reality. And he's literally saying the exact phrase and the exact words that I used about 30 minutes or an hour earlier when I was recording. So then he goes on to say how seeing is not believing. He literally says seeing is not believing. This was the second thing I talked about in this lesson. And then he says, lastly, I want people to know that we are all part of a collective energy, and we're all connected and we can all tap into it. My jaw hit the floor because, I mean, in order, like everything that I had talked about was now confirmed or like said back to me by some random way, listening to a podcast, not even the episode I was supposed to listen to, and just like 30 minutes after I record. And I just started laughing. I just started laughing because I'm like, here I was asking everyone else to, look for a sign, ask for a sign to validate what I was just talking about. And in turn, I end up getting that validation. The sign comes through, and it comes through like so crystal clear. So the moral of the story is ask for a sign, like just say it out loud. There's something to saying it out loud that seems to work better for me. But if you have a question, if you're at a crossroads, if you're trying to decide, between two options or what you should do next, or you're feeling doubt, ask out loud, ask for a sign and pay attention. I guarantee it's going to come through. It works every time. And this strengthens your intuition. It strengthens your belief in yourself and in the universe and in manifesting and everything else. And it's every time, it's miraculous. Every single time I'm blown away. So we had our first meet and greet call for Quantum Catalyst. It hasn't started yet. It officially starts on January 6th, but I wanted, to just have something for the beginning of the year. So we did a meet and greet call. The energy is so high vibe. It's so good. This is such an amazing group. Now I can say that now that we've all officially met and talked. I'm really excited. We have 3 spots left. So if you're on the fence, if you feel like you're on the verge of change and you're ready for transformation in 2025, and you just need that little bit of push or support, this is for you. We're going deep into the science behind manifestation. We're getting into everything like neuroscience, psychology, sound healing, quantum mechanics, technology, like everything, because I want to give you so much proof and evidence that all of these theories around manifestation are real and are not just some woo woo thing. They're actually very backed in science and nature. And I want to give your subconscious so much proof of that there is no room for doubt or belief. And it's really a shift in your state of being so that you can quantum shift into the life that you want to live, the person you want to be in 2025 and beyond. And so if you're feeling, like this nudge, this intuitive push towards something like this, you can go and get more information at thelawofattractiontribe.com/quantum. Like I said, there's 3 spots left. So it's just going to be first come, first serve. But you can go get more information there. I'll also link it in the show notes. And maybe this is your sign to go and ask for a sign for whatever question or concern or doubt has been on your mind, and you will be amazed at what will come through. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you back here next week.